The final bell of the morning classes rang, echoing through the long hallways of Seoul National's old academic building. The moment it did, students began gathering their things like they were fleeing a battlefield. The atmosphere instantly lightened. It was time for the much needed lunch break. You were seated with your friends in the corridor corner where your group always huddled before heading to the cafeteria. Your books were still open, highlighted stuck between your papers, and a determined look painted your face, the others not so much. Minji threw her head back dramatically. No, why not? Not again. Not during break. You gave her a look, lips pursed as you pointed at your notes. We literally have a surprise quiz after the break, Minji. Didn't you see the announcement in the group chat last night? Hygiene grown already halfway out of her seat. I muted that group every time I checked it. You are the one spamming study reminders. Honestly, I think you were born with a textbook in your hand. You're not even human. You laughed softly, but didn't close your notebook. Jisoo reached over and snatched your pen. Okay, nerd queen, take a breath. No quiz in the world is more important than cafeteria tteokbokki. Let's go. Exactly, you will end up graduating alone at this rate. While we are all working at fancy companies and you are still revising in the library. You try to protest, but they all ganged up on you with playful teasing, pretending to chant your name like a robot. Altogether, wine board activated, initiating Rubian protocol beep beep. You buried your face in your palms, laughing helplessly. You guys are the worst. Just then, a first year student casually approached your group, nervously adjusting his ID card lanyard. Excuse me, are you Wanchi? You looked up, confused. Yes. Professor June is asking for you. He said to come to his office right away. The laughter among your group stopped dead. Minji's eyes widened. Wait, Professor June. Hyden leaned in with a slight grin. Oh, trouble in paradise. Soyeon nudged you with her elbow. Did you forgot to do something wifey? I swear the way he stares at you in class, it's either pure hatred or spicy tension. You sighed, already feeling your stomach tighten. You didn't answer them, you simply stood collecting your books with a quiet calmness, even though your heart was anything but steady. Okay, then I have to go. Minji saluted dramatically. Rest in peace, brave soldier. Hyden called out with mock concern. If you don't come back in 20 minutes, we are filing a missing persons report. Tell him we said hi or not, actually don't. Their laughter followed you down the hallway as they turned toward the cafeteria, arms linked and giggling, while you made your way in the opposite direction towards the wing where the faculty offices were. Your steps slowed slightly as you reached the familiar wooden door that read Professor John Chunguk Literature and Linguistics. The air felt colder in this part of the building, or maybe it was just him. You hesitated only for a second before knocking, heart skipping a beat as the silence inside the room stretched for a moment. Then came his deep, controlled voice from within. Come in, your fingers curled around the doorknob. And you stepped inside. The moment you stepped into his office, the door clicked shut behind you like the sound of a verdict being said. Jungkook was seated in his leather chair, back straight, posture rigid, sleeves rolled up just below his elbows, revealing the veins that curled along his arms like a map. His black shirt was burned all the way to the collar, not a crease in sight. He looked painfully perfect. His jawline was as sharp as ever, his dark hair tousled just enough to look like he didn't care, and those cold, merciless eyes lifted toward you without a flicker of warmth. Then he stood, slow, calculated, and walked to the front of his desk, his polished shoes tapping against the floor with each step. You instinctively followed, stopping only a few feet away from him. His towering presence never failed to make you feel small. It wasn't just his height, it was the way he looked at people. Like they were constantly disappointing him. You gulped, fingers tightening around the strap of your bag. Yes, you called me. He folded his arms over his chest, expression unreadable. Yes, I have to discuss something. Your brows furrowed slightly. You sensed the tension before he even said it. There is a student, her name is Onbi, who came to my office this morning. She claims you threatened her. Your heart dropped. Threaten? Jungkook nodded once, slow and clinical. She said you told her to stay away from me. You blinked at him, stunned. What? I am hearing her name for the first time in my life. Jungkook's gaze hardened slightly. Don't act innocent, Wine. I'm not acting. He cut you off with a raised hand. She will be here in a few minutes. I wanted to hear your side before that. You just tightened. A bitter laugh escaped your lips as you crossed your arms, so you believed her over me. For the first time, something in his face softened, just briefly like a ripple over still water. I didn't believe her. I just said she made a complaint, and if it's true, then you owe her an apology. Your jaw clenched. You think I would apologize to someone for something I didn't do? Knock, knock. You turned sharply, the door creaked open, and in walked the one person you had never imagined. A tall girl with flawless skin, shiny brown curls, and legs that could model for skincare ads. She wore a smug smile, hips swaying confidently, and you instantly recognized her face from the campus whispers. The Onbe, the so called popular girl. You narrowed your eyes. Funny, you thought. If she's so popular, why did I never bother remembering her name? Onbi tilted her head slightly toward Jungkook. 안녕하세요, Professor Joan. Then her eyes landed on you, and the act didn't drop. Oh, I didn't expect her to already be there. When exactly did I tell you to stay away from Professor Joan? Onbi blinked, acting surprised as if you were the one being concerned. You don't remember in the library yesterday? You walked past me and muttered it. Library. I didn't even go to the library yesterday. I had a headache. Ask my friends. She fake gasped. Oh, maybe I misunderstood, but you looked right at me and your eyes, they were so hostile. Your hands balled into fists. You could feel your blood boiling. She was lying boldly without shame, and Jungkook was listening to her. Something inside you snapped. You stepped forward, grabbed her by the wrist, and with a swift motion slapped her across the cheek. The sound echoed in the office like a gunshot. Unbi stumbled, gasping in disbelief. Before she could finish, you grabbed a handful of her perfectly curled hair, jerking her back slightly forward you as your voice dropped low and threatening. You want a warning? Here's a real one. Stay away from my husband. Yeah, you heard that right. My husband, go flirt with someone else, man, only because he's mine. And the next time you lie about me, I'll make sure you won't be able to show your pretty little face around campus. Her eyes widened in horror. You're laying? He's not your husband. He scoffed, then without breaking eye contact and acting purely on fury and impulse, you turned to Jungkook, who was frozen in place, and pressed your lips to his. It wasn't soft or shy, it was furious, passionate, possessive. Your fingers curled into his collar as you kissed him like he belonged to you, like you were not going to let anyone touch what was yours. You felt the sharp intake of his breath, his body tensed, but he didn't pull away. When you finally parted from him, Chungu was stunned, his breath shallow, his eyes wide. Unbe stood there, mouth parted in shock. You tilted your head smugly, still think I'm lying. She blinked several times, then, humiliated and furious, stomped her foot like a tantrum throwing child and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Silence filled the room like thick smoke. Jungkook was still staring at you, lips parted slightly, stunned beyond words. The room remained silent. Your heart was thudding against your ribcage, but you refused to look away from him. Chungkook's dark eyes were locked onto yours, his expression unreadable. The usual sharpness in his gaze had melted into something else, something softer, confused, almost vulnerable. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. What was that? His voice trembled slightly, so subtle that anyone else might have missed it, but you heard it crystal clear. His hands were still clenched by his sides, as if he didn't trust what they might do if he relaxed. You arched a brow, folding your arms across your chest, the corner of your mouth twitching with smudginess. It's colic is Chongkuk. You took a step closer, keeping your gaze steady. You know, something husbands and wives do quite often. He stiffened, his jaw tightening, but didn't move. All right, how would you know? You let out a quiet, sarcastic laugh. You have never kissed me before. I guess you are too busy being Professor Jones to remember you have a wife. He turned away slowly, pretending to inspect one of the books off his desk, lips still curled in a half smile. By the way, he looked over his shoulder, voice tipping with playful sarcasm. How did it feel? For a second, you thought he wouldn't answer, that he would shut down like always, retreat behind his cold exterior, but then something shifted. His footsteps were sudden sharp. Before you could react, your back was against the polished wooden surface of his desk, books tumbling to the floor as he pinned you gently, one hand gripping the edge of behind you, the other curling around your waist. Your breath caught, Jungkook didn't say a word. His lips found yours, not with the rage and heat you had earlier, but with something else entirely. Slow, soft, intentional. Like you want to feel every second of it. Your eyes fluttered shut, your hand instinctively reaching for his shoulders as he tilted his head and deepened the kiss. He kissed you like he was trying to memorize the shape of your mouth, like this moment had been hiding in the corners of his mind far longer than he would admit. You didn't know when you stopped being shocked. All you knew was that you never wanted to stop. 10 minutes passed in a blur of soft gasps, tangled fingers, and two people finally giving in to emotions that had been buried under layers of denial and pride. When he finally pulled away, both of you were breathless. Chubuk's forehead rested lightly against yours. His lashes low, lips parted, his chest rising and falling as if he had just surfaced from deep water. You were the first to speak. Oh, you smiled, eyes gleaming with mischief. I didn't know you would enjoy it that much, Professor Jones. He stared at you for a beat, then, to your utter surprise, the corner of his mouth curved up. Not a smirk, a smile, genuine smile, but enough to steal your breath all over again.